Hey, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Extra Feature Interview. Tonight I have a fabulous guest whose film Genesis Project is going to introduce you guys to a new kind of serial killer. Spanky Ward is here to discuss it all. You can find it on Tubi because that's where I find it, and I'm sure it's available on every rental platform in existence. So just look it up. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thanks for the invite. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. It was nice to see meet somebody new, a project I just sort of stumbled on. Like I like that. It wasn't sent to me. So I want to go back at the beginning of the origin of this. I don't want to discuss the end, but I'm going to discuss it now just quickly. Did you do the ending first in your head, or that just showed up as the writing process began?
Actually, the ending changed. I originally, the story was vastly different. And I was doing research at the time and reading. I probably spent about 3 months researching serial killers. And also, I read The History of Torture, not anything I would ever recommend. Neither the serial killer stuff. It's just, anyway. But I like to do the research. So I did all this research and I found out that there was a sheriff in Provo at the time. This is back in around 2000 when I first wrote this and started getting into this. But he was actually an FBI profiler. He worked with John Douglas, who is like, back in the day, like big in FBI profiling and stuff. And he actually worked with him. And I found out that this guy is the sheriff in Provo. So I'm like, oh man, he's local. I was in Ogden at the time. I could maybe see if I could interview him and stuff. And gave him a call and he was totally up for it. And so I was on my way to go interview him and talk about his FBI profiling techniques and all that stuff. And on my way there, I was thinking about the storyline and that in the ending that's in there now popped in my head. And I thought to myself, that is way better than what I have in mind right now. And so I took that coming up with that ending, had a ripple effect clear back to the beginning and just changed the entire dynamic and storyline. So in a way, yeah, I
Interesting.
guess you could say that I worked from the ending back.
That's so. Did the profiler help you at all with your script, or no? It was just more
Yeah.
research.
Yeah, no, it was great. Yeah. It's um there's a lot to the mentality and reasoning behind serial killers and stuff. It's amazing how so much of it is the same. Um, there are some outliers, of course, probably plenty, but there's some really definitive sort of key things that are to a degree found in like almost all serial killers. And it was really interesting to see to hear his of his experiences and his perspective on the mentality and all this stuff. Sorry, let me get rid of this. um and yeah, it was really fascinating. In fact, I was going through some old boxes and I actually the recorder that I took at the time, I just got this like weird it was a digital recorder that recorded on little tiny looking CDs and stuff. And I actually found it a few weeks ago when I was moving a bunch of boxes, and it's I still have that interview, and I was thinking of trying to contact the guy and see if he's still around, but and let him actually I named the sheriff, the chief in the story. I named him after this guy that I interviewed, Cooper. So I just kind of a little thank you. So I don't know if he ever saw the movie. I wanted to try and contact him and say, hey, I finally made the movie. It's 23 years later, but finally made the film. And, if you want to go see it, but I wasn't able to get a hold of him. So hopefully he's still around. Maybe you'll see it.
So you wrote it in 2002, and it's or 2003, I guess, because you said 23 years. So why does it take you so long to get from there to here?
Well, that was I tried to go to college for filmmaking, but at the time I was going to Weaver State and I was in broadcast communications. They didn't have a film program. And I graduated in 2000. That's when I started to write the Genesis project around that time and doing research and all that stuff. And I applied for the film program up at the U and they turned me down And so, because I hadn't done anything, I didn't have a reel or anything. So I decided, well, I'll just learn on my own. So I started to buy books and learned how to write screenplays on my own and read stuff and filmmaking. I started working for other people's films. And so I'm working on film productions in any capacity I could while, writing and learning how to write screenplays and stuff. And I did a little bit of I wrote commercials for radio in college. That was kind of the beginning of where I really got interested in writing. I was a DJ at the Weber State radio station and wrote a bunch of commercials there. That's when my writing the writing bug kind of bit me, and I started to write other things and short films and stuff. But so the Genesis Project was my third script that I ever wrote, but it was the first one I sold. And there's a long story to it. A friend of mine was working at Touched by an Angel at the time. He made copies of the script, passed it out. It got to an individual named Marshall Moore, who is in charge of locations for Touched by an Angel. And Marshall got the script to Frank, who ended up buying the script from me, which was a huge deal. I mean, I was self-taught. It was like my third script, and here I am selling a script. So it was amazing. He actually, at the time, had the funding for the film. I don't know what the budget was. It was in the millions, but they had people like Katherine Heigl and Henry Winkler and Ernie Hudson and John Savage and
Oh,
all
I
these,
could see that.
yeah, people I'd heard of and stuff. Like Ernie Hudson was going to be the chief, and Katherine Heigl was going to be Tiffany,
I knew that.
and then 2 weeks away from principal photography, something happened, and I don't know what, but the funding just dropped out, just like gone. It just ripped my heart out. But Frank, who he was getting directed at the time, Frank never gave up on it. He kept looking for money. He moved on and made other films and did other stuff, but it was always in the back of his mind. And a few years ago, we talked, and he asked me what I could make it for, and I gave him an idea, and he said, "All right, I'll do some rewrite." The script was 20 years old, so I had to do some rewrites. He's like, work on the script. I'll go look for money, and then last, year and a half ago, he got the money together, and we made it. And yeah, we're about a year since I think we started shooting. I can't remember. It's around this time, earlier last year, but yeah, so it took like 22, 23 years to do, but we finally got it done. It was kind of cool because I got to direct it this time instead, so it was nice to be able to implement to a degree. I mean, budgetarily, it's not exactly how I had it in my head, but in other ways it's better. In other ways, it's not as big as it was originally written, but it turned out great. I'm extremely proud of it. And it was worth the 23-year wait, I think.
I think it's a very tight script, which I did want to talk about it most. I mean, maybe you've learned to rewrite from 23 years ago, but I thought it was tight. I don't think you left anything. You didn't have weird pauses that you see in some indie thing. I liked it. It flows.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of the stuff I had to cut out just for time. The first cut was, I think, 2:45, but still it ran smoothly. But distributors have to have a certain time frame. So I made a shorter version, but maybe someday I'll get to have the full thing back together. But there are a lot of Easter eggs in the script, in the film, and there's even more that I had to cut out, but even more in the script that I didn't even include. But like I had tiny little things in there from all my research. Like there's this one original scene where Grover is watching movies in his basement, and his basement's like in the script. We budgetarily we couldn't do it, but in the script, in his basement, he's a big hunter, so there's these mounted heads like on just filling this room, and just all these dead eyes looking at you whenever you're in that room. And I had a lot of stuff set up in there, but we ended up not being able to get that. There wasn't anything like that around here, so we had to change it. But the movie that Grover was watching, I think it was, if I remember right, it was The Exorcist 3, which it's been a long time, but if I remember right, it was either Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite movie or Ted Bundy's favorite. It was one of the
Oh,
serial killer's favorite movies. I can't remember
I
what it
have
was.
seen it, but I can't tell you,
Yeah,
answer
but
that
whatever
question
movie
quite
he was
honestly.
watching was the favorite movie of some serial killer, and I had like tons of that stuff just kind of sprinkled through the whole film, just little hints of things, but which were really fun. But no one else is really going to get probably unless they're
No,
really
I definitely wouldn't say anybody would unless
yeah.
you told me. So let's go into this a little more. You're in the filmmaker, obviously. You have wonderful locations, and I mean big locations. So
Yeah,
how did you get some of those? The school, the lodge, like these don't seem like easy things to get.
it's well, the first thing is Utah is such a great place to make movies. I mean, uh, you can we had some great locations people as well. And when you're doing independent film at certain levels and budgets, you learn to get creative really quickly. And so we you take one location and you make it look like two or three others. And so, for example, the school, the hospital, and some other, they were all the same location. And we just, we had
Really?
I had oh yeah, I had an amazing art department that like dressed, they actually won an award for their work from a festival. Yeah, they did an amazing job at uh decorating and props and everything. They did just a fantastic job of making all these places look like they're separate individual locations. It was really great.
So is the lodge separate from everything else?
Yeah, that was another trick. We used the same location. So we that was built, that was a set that was built on a stage, and then they flipped the walls inside out, and we used that same set for the exterior shots. So it's all the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice trick. I
It,
like that
like
then
I
because
said,
I
man, my art department was fantastic. My whole crew was great.
I am fascinated by that because that thing is just amazing. I loved it. I like the whole, like I said. Now, as you're writing your dialogue and you're filming this, I mean, you had a 2 hour and 45 minute kind of that you've said. Did your actors know the script off by heart? Like they seem to actually be living it. You know what I'm saying?
I got so man lucky. I had the most amazing cast. We went through a long casting process and saw hundreds of people, and there are hundreds of others that we didn't see. Like I had a casting department that kind of weeded through all the submissions and sent through the ones that they thought would be, best. And as well as I kind of reached out with my own feelers and posted things here and there. And there were people that Halem, who plays Grover. I had actually directed him in a commercial a couple years prior to, and he was working on a different film that was using our same production office. They were going to finish up and move out as we were moving our production in, and I happened to see his headshot up on the wall, and it dawned. I'm like, oh man, he'd be great for Grover. And so I sent him into the casting department, and he was perfect. And Krista, who plays Tiffany, well, so uh so Ryan, who plays David, I just got I sent out all these, posted all these things on different, social media places, and I got this email from Ryan, and it had this little clip of I assume it was a clip from a short film, and it was a very simple, clip. The audio was really horrible. It was really windy and stuff, but his performance, and it was a comedic clip, but his performance in it just wowed me. I'm like, it was exactly what I was looking for, because this character had, the David character has such a huge scale of emotion throughout his whole, throughout the whole film. And what I saw him do in that tiny little clip was exactly what I thought I needed. And so I had his name sent in, and I found, uh, Brando was, I found him in the modeling section on one of the casting agencies' websites, and I thought he's over in the modeling, but I wonder if he can act. Which later I found out, yeah, he's got tons of experience. But I didn't need to see that because once I saw his audition, I'm like, that's
That
Roman.
that's
Perfect.
him.
His look, everything, perfect. And then the very last one, we actually we had a Tiffany. I won't say her now. I don't want to embarrass her, but we actually had somebody cast for Tiffany, and she went home after seeing tons of people. She went home, told her husband, "Hey, I got," and he's like, "Oh, that's great." When are they filming? And she told him, and he's like, "Oh, I actually planned us a family cruise during that day. So,
Ah,
guys, so she was bummed, but I'm like, no, you gotta, do your family thing, man. So she was sad, but she would have done a great job. But we had to start over, and I saw more people and some more people, and it was kind of coming down to the line, and we didn't have our Tiffany, and everybody else was cast, and Cooper was the first. Cooper, who plays Stacy, was the first person cast. It was down to two for him, and I almost cast the other guy until the second round. And when I saw his second round audition tape, he blew me away. I'm like, that's my guy. So Cooper was the first one cast. And then Tiffany was our last. Like we had her, then she's gone, and now we're starting all over. So one day we had finished this big location scout with a bunch of crew. I think it was a tech scout, I can't remember, but everybody else left, and Frank, the producer, and I were at this little ice cream shack. I think it was the Shake Shack or whatever, and that's where we kind of parked earlier. Everybody kind of gathered there, parked, and we decided to stick around and have a burger and have dinner and talk. And while we were waiting for our order, I got this email um, out of nowhere from Krista, and I'm like, that's kind of odd because it was my personal email, and all the ones I'd sent out, they would go to a certain email, like my
right.
casting email. But here's this email from this girl that, my personal, I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. But I opened it up, and the second I saw her picture, I'm like, that's Tiffany. And like it was the weirdest thing. It hit me. I'm like, that is our Tiffany. I turned my phone around to show Frank. I'm like, this is our Tiffany. And he's like, cool. Do you know anything about her? Nope. Have you seen her audition? I'm like, nope. But this is our Tiffany. And so I called my line producer, Jen. I'm like, hey, I found her Tiffany. I'm sending you her picture. Send it all in. Didn't tell Krista this because, of course, um, I still needed to see her audition. I sent her the stuff and hoping to get it back that night. She wrote back and like, hey, I'm busy. Is it okay if I turn it in tomorrow? I'm thinking like, yeah, I've already
No,
cast her. I would really like to know if she can act.
I
Now
would
I
think
gotta
so.
wait. Now I gotta wait. All I had was my gut to go on, but now I have to wait a whole day till tomorrow evening to find out if I'm like, just killed myself. Um, and then I got her audition the next day. Finally, I'm like, oh, and she just completely just blew me away. It was
I
amazing.
love it. I
Like,
love it.
thank goodness. But yeah, I mean, all five of them they fit their characters so perfectly. And it was just honestly perfect. They were great. They were all wonderful.
Music. You only use music very slightly. In the beginning of it's pretty evident, and if it's there again, I didn't notice because I think I probably was too vested in the dialogue. Where did your music come from?
So I use the same composer, Russ Whitelock. He's composed my past three movies, and I brought him on for this one as well. So yeah, he's got his score in there. There were five songs that I used from an artist, Brad Bird, and so I licensed five songs from him. I really I really like finding music for my movies. It takes a while, but I have to have the right music. There's certain scenes that need, just something different, like a song instead of score. And so I like to go and find the right ones. And actually the funny thing was I was only using Brad's music kind of temporarily, just as kind of a placeholder. And then I was going to find song and I just ended up liking them so much. I just said, "Hey, I told them like, hey, I know I told you I was just using these temporarily, but can I license them?" So I ended up licensing because, and I usually don't get all of them from the same person either. But he had such a wide variety, huge, a variety of different sounds and different songs that I was able to put them into whatever I needed. Whereas my last film, I think I found I can't remember if 10 or 12 songs, and I think in only like one or two cases um did I use, I think everybody had a different song except for like one or two people, and I used like one or two of their songs, but um and they were all great. But I love finding music, the right song for the right scene. And yeah, it's I do all that myself. I don't it, I can't trust somebody else to do it because when I hear a song, I can see the scenes in my head and kind of where they fit, and they're like puzzle pieces that just kind of all come together. And then I know that it's the right, there's a lot of times where I'll experiment. I'm not there. There's some that I like a lot. I don't know which one to go with, so I'll cut the scene to all the different songs, and then just kind of watch them over and get some opinions
Wow.
and find which one everybody kind of, because I like them all. I can't really decide. And so I like to get opinions sometimes and see what other people think, because I'm, biased because I like them all. So, and then there's others that I just know right off the bat that, this is the perfect song for this scene or this moment. So it's really fun. But yeah, but Russ Whitelock has scored like all my films, almost pretty much nearly everything, all my short films and stuff too.
So when you've screened this, do people react? I don't. How do they react to the ending?
Uh, I've only got to see it on the big screen once at a film festival. We didn't plan on really submitting it to anywhere. Just at the last second, I decided to send it into Zion's Indie Film Fest here in Utah, and sent it into that. So it was great seeing it on the big screen. Everybody loved it. But that's the only time I've really got live feedback. All I can do now is read like comments. I have submitted it to other film festivals, so if it makes it in, I'll get to see it on the big screen again. And that's my favorite part is I had a Christmas movie called The Santa Box that I made back in 2020, and it was in theaters for 2 months, Christmas time.
Oh
And
wow.
it was great because I got to go and sit. My whole dream, what becoming a filmmaker, was to sit in an audience, uh, and them not know I'm there. I'm just sitting there and listening to the reactions. If they laugh at the right moment, and if there wasn't anything scary then, but I always knew what I really listened for were sniffles, because if I heard sniffling, then I knew they were crying, and if they were crying, I knew that the film reached them, it touched them, and that was the goal, to have that visceral reaction and for them to enjoy it. And I got to do that a lot. I probably went to around 50 different
Oh
screenings
my
over
God.
2 months,
Wow.
and and got a chance to listen to. And then I'd stand up after and introduce myself. I'd give away DVDs to the movie, and stuff like that. And some people, they'd stick around for an hour or so afterwards and talk, and it was a blast. And I haven't got a chance to do that again. But when it's at like a festival, like this, watching it with an audience at the Zion's Indie Film Fest was just a blast. Just people jumping at those moments, the jump scare moments, and reacting to it the way they did. And it was, yeah, it's bliss. It's pure bliss. watching with an audience, a live audience, and getting that immediate feedback. But everybody loved it. So
Do you write to music?
I don't. I try to. The problem, I have such a difficult time focusing if there's noises and stuff. My brain will, it's like a ping pong ball bouncing all around my focus. And so I sometimes I can have it low enough to where I don't focus on it. And then I like to try and listen to something that's kind of in the mood or genre. If it's a romantic, film or comedy, then I'll, not necessarily romantic music, but something more calm, but, horror films. Actually, sometimes I do like to put, those little spooky sound. You just play in the background. You have like wind blowing and the sound of rain and lightning sometimes and stuff. And those are kind of goofy, but I'm working on a Western right now. Well, I already written, I'm doing some rewrites, but I do listen to folk music sometimes when I'm actually writing. Usually it has to be quiet, but if I'm doing rewrites like I am now, then I can listen to music, and I'm listening to contemporary folk music, which I never really done before, but I like it. It's kind of cool. So I'm listening to a lot of that stuff right now. I couldn't tell you who the bands are, but
It's
there's a lot
okay.
of great songs. I don't know what they're called. I just turn Pandora on or tell Alexa to play me some contemporary folk music, and she comes up with whatever it is. But
Conversation you might like. Modern folk. Everyone is on music.
Here
uh,
she comes. She's
Alexa, stop.
ready.
She's always willing to help.
Well, that's very nice of her. I think
It
that's
is. It
enjoyable
is.
to have something that works for us
I pay
nowadays.
her terribly, but she's always, she shows up to work every day regardless. So
So, since you write in so many different genres, and I mean, do you bring your cast from one movie to the next, or certain people, or you like to start fresh every film?
I generally like to start fresh. I like to, it's kind of difficult too, because the characters, I did use one person in Genesis that I used in my last film. But everybody else was, no, two people, another, but they're really, really small roles. But generally I like to use new people, especially if they're newcomers. I like to give people an opportunity to like Krista. This is her first movie. I mean, she had done like some TV stuff, but this is her first feature. Same with David. Uh, Halem had been in films before, and I think Cooper as well. But there are at least two of them. David and Ryan. I mean, Ryan and Krista, who had never been in film before. So I'm hoping that this will help them in their careers and they could take off. Same with like Santa Box, Cammy in the Santa Box. That was her very first thing, very first film, and she did amazing. She won like an award from a festival, like best actress under 18 and all this stuff, and she did wonderful. Now I think she's in school in New York studying, hopefully acting, because she was great. And so I do like to give up and coming people opportunities if I can. And then hopefully start using on my next one. We want to try and get at least some kind of name actor for it, and then surround them with some really great talent from Utah, and try and use Utah as much as I can. But ultimately, the roles go to whoever best fits the character. That's
Of
what's most
course.
important. So,
Okay. I just have three quick questions for you. What movie snack do you eat at the movie theater?
oh, popcorn, definitely popcorn every time.
Your favorite serial killer?
Mm. I would say, and when I say favorite, I think because I'm taking in the kind of the dynamic and the personality. Um, Probably Ted Bundy.
I would agree with you on that one.
And he was actually the subject of my very first short film, which is called Number Nine, too. So he's always been kind of like, a little bit of a favorite.
One movie I always recommend to people, but they don't always watch.
The Princess Bride.
That's just, wow, really? People have
Yeah,
not seen.
I
Oh, I guess
love the
maybe I
Princess.
might. Wow.
I gave that to somebody and older guy, and he's like, I thought he thought it was dumb. I like, you thought of it, Princess Bride? It's how could it possibly be dumb? It's a great movie. It's
It's
anyway.
Rob Reiner, man. Wow.
Oh yeah, it's
Oof.
so there's comedy and drama. I mean, it just love and all that stuff. It was great. It was great. I mean, William Goldman writing how can you go wrong with that? So and Rob Reiner, is directing. It was great. It's my all-time favorite.
Before I let you go, please tell everybody where they can find your films.
So just like the Genesis Project, it's on like Tubi is great. It's on Amazon, I think Apple. It's on a ton of different platforms, or you can just Google my name, Spanky Ward, Spanky Dustin Ward, and all my films will pop up. There's a few on the wall back here.
I
Hello,
can
I
see
Live,
them.
Princess for a Day, and Riot that I wrote for. I was hired to write for another, great filmmaker, John Live was the director of that and came up with the story concept and all that stuff. And so, and I guess a bunch of other great ones. So, and I'm working on one called the Porter Rockwell Chronicles, temporary title, but it's a Western based on a real life uh, individual who's part of Utah history. He's an old Western gunslinger. And so it's a twist on the Western genre because he's tracking a serial killer through the Old West. So
I love it.
a little bit of thriller, suspense with some historic fiction and mixed in with some actual true events from this, interesting person's life. It's a fun script. So just we're looking for the funding right now. So
Okay, before oh, that's it. We're done. We already asked everything. Thank you for your time and have a great evening.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. It's been fun.